Hello, everybody. Margo Lovett here. Well, I hear that you are going to reinvent yourself. You want to become a entrepreneur. You want to become a podcaster. Wow. I know that feeling, that giddiness, that excitement, that surge of energy that I'm going to do this. I've been thinking about it for so long. No more tire kicking. Here we go. I understand that feeling because in 2016 actually, that's when it really started. I had quit my job and taken a year and a half off just to regroup myself, and that reinvention phase started. So the word reinvention is very near and dear to me. I shall never forget it, and I'll always tell my story of how it began and what it's been like. That's what this time is all about. Just shedding some light on the reinvention process. Be you male, be you female, but be me being a boomer woman. Of course, I'm going to come to you from that perspective. But first of all, in 2016, it did begin for me, and I had to decide that I really want to come out of game show hopping. Yeah, that big poster in the background, that's my book cover. How in 1 year I stopped game show hopping. I do live here in Southern California. I stopped game show hopping. I became an international talk show host. I became an entrepreneur. And it really, really all happened. So I'll break it down for you real quick. 2016, I knew that it was time to get back to my passion, to my hobby, which was podcasting. And it had been on the shelf for a year and a half, probably close to 2 years. As I remember and I go back and I think about those times, it was at least, I know it was over a year, nothing. The studio was dark on my behalf. But in 2017, the reinvention process literally called me back to the mic. And it was the best thing that could have ever happened. So I'm asking you, the first thing I want you to do is to test the strength of your want to reinvent. I'd already been podcasting. I just put it over on the shelf and went on to other things. But what is the strength of your want? Are you reinventing out of to become part of a passion play? Or is it the continuation of a hobby? Are you reinventing so that you can become an entrepreneur? Are you taking that passion, that hobby, and turning that into a business? I keep hitting the mic here. I just want you to test the strength of that. How far are you willing to go? I decided in 2017 I was going to take it all the way. I was going to stop game show hopping on a full time basis, and I was actually going to turn this hobby, this passion, into a business. How does that happen? What does that look like? I had no idea. Boy, oh boy, but I had the grit and the gumption to at least investigate and pull forward. And can I tell you the truth? This last 4 years, it's now 2021. We started in 2017. It's really been 4 years of working up under a solopreneur business structure. It's been 4 years of testing. It's been 4 years of actually finding my voice, continuing to find my voice. It's been 4 years of, as my strategist says, you just been testing what you wanted to do. You've been testing to find out what works, what doesn't work. Because let me share one other secret. In the test of your strength, of your want to, you're also writing your why. And you're pronouncing it, you're announcing it to the world in every social media, in every talk, in every interview, in every conversation. It's being announced. So it takes time to start this reinvention process and get to walking so that you can run and you're confident and you're doing your thing, and it's clear not only to yourself but it's clear to those that you are out to impact. And in 4 years, I've had an opportunity to make impact. And I'm all in. I am literally all in. I've tested the strength of my why for my reinvention. Another thing I want you to ask yourself, and that's number two. Number two, the second thing I want to bring to your attention, so while you're beginning this reinvention process, are you teachable? Many of us come from corporate. If you weren't the CEO, then you were a manager. And you're used to doing things a certain way. You're used to thinking a certain way. That's understandable. I was working for one corporation for 26 years. You become part of that culture. That culture becomes part of you. But as you reinvent yourself, you are leaving the majority, most parts of that culture, and you're taking the good, you're tweaking what you call the bad, you're tweaking what's going to work for you, you're adding that, you're subtracting. It's, give yourself time to reinvent. Give yourself time to become that podcaster, time to become that entrepreneur, because if you're not teachable, then you will try to bring over what you know because it's comfortable and it's all that you've known for so long, until you can do it with your eyes blindfolded. You can now dress down. You're no longer in your St. John's. You can show up on a camera with your ball cap and your sweats, instead of your couture or even your office wear. The game is changing. The culture, the climate is changing, and you are dictating all of that. But I ask you, are you teachable? Because you don't know what you don't know, and you do need somebody to help you reinvent yourself, to discover yourself. What works, what doesn't work, what's comfortable, what is just doggone scary but necessary. This book, when I wrote this book in 2017, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how in 1 year I went from game show hopping to international show host and author and speaker. When I wrote that book, I was scared to death. It's revealing. It tells part of my story. Could only go so deep at that time because you're just in the early phases of reinvention. You don't know what you don't know. But I documented as much as I could from where I was without acting as though I've done it all and I understand it all. Because in 2017, ladies and gentlemen, I certainly did not. But scary. Nevertheless, I wrote, it was published, went to Amazon bestseller the first day, and I am so grateful that my coach, my mentor, pushed me to do that. And that's exactly what you need. You have to be teachable. There are some steps that you need to take right away to establish your reinvention, and some things can wait. You don't want to get into those things that you're just not ready for. And there's so many things that you just aren't ready for. And everybody has a plan for you. You find your plan and your path. Be teachable, invest in yourself. Do that from the very beginning. And it goes back to testing the strength of your want and your why. If you are out to become a business, then you definitely want to make sure that you've invested in someone who's going to help you build that business model right from the beginning. It will help you on down the road with the IRS. It will help you with the clarity. It will help you define who your customers are. And I won't even get into that, okay? But I did recap. Test the strength of your why. Test the strength of your reinvention. Is this just going to be a hobby that you're picking up? Is it a passion that's converting into a hobby? Is the hobby converting into a business? You decide that. And how strong is that? Is it viable? And then number two, I ask, are you teachable? You definitely want to ask yourself that. The old culture that you came from is probably not applicable for where you're going. You don't really know where you're going and how to build that. So you have to be teachable, and you have to be willing to invest in yourself. Invest in someone who's going to help you. All right. Invest in someone who's going to help you find the confidence to come on camera and not have makeup on, and reinvent you to so that you are so confident and clear about what you're out to do, until you'll do all those scary things as time permits, as you grow, as you reinvent. And the third thing that I want to bring to you, I'm asking you, how high can you jump? How fast can you run? How high can you jump? How fast can you run? Maybe you're just coming out of corporate and you're really kind of tired. I know that. A year and a half. I know that. Take time to evaluate how high you can jump in this reinvention and how fast you can move, because that is going to determine how quickly you get up and you're running, be it being, and you're up and you're operating, be it as an entrepreneur or even as a hobbyist. If you're becoming an entrepreneur, if you're becoming a podcaster, in whatever level, in whatever way, you determine, do you have the strength to dive in? Do you find and make sure that you hire a strategist whose strength matches your strength? If you are ready, set, go, you have the grit, the gumption, you've gone through resilience, and you can ready, set, go. You don't want to hire on somebody who's going to hold you back when you are ready. You are set. You are go. The mindset is there to take on this reinvention journey. But on the other hand, you don't want to hire on someone who's going to push you. Yeah, and everybody needs pushing. Everybody needs that accountability. But you don't want someone who's going to act as though you should be years on down the road when you're just starting out. Accountability is different from taking you to a place that you really are not ready to go to. So, building out a relationship with your mentor, your strategist, is so crucial. It is so critical during this time. I think I told you that I was a podcaster before I quit corporate and took that time off. I was a podcaster, but when I came back, I knew that things had changed. I had changed. I definitely was teachable. A lot of eyes there. And you're going to find that your reinvention is all about you. You're going to be the I, all right? But I had to determine that I'm teachable, but I need someone to get my wheels back on the road, help me build again. I was coming from a music show. That was not me. That was not my message. That was not my purpose. And if I was going to go ahead and do this, then I had to give myself permission to build and rebuild. Be teachable when and fit, be teachable instead of acting as though I already know. I already built out a podcast. I've already done 24-hour programming. I already know that. No. Take low and rebuild. Take low so that whatever you are creating, that structure is going to be sound because you've invested in yourself and that person is doing what you want to do. They've been down the road that you are going down. All right? So just 3 tips that came from writing the book and taking a look back at 2017. I understand, I read the headlines. The Great Resignation is on. That means thousands, millions of people globally are reinventing themselves. And didn't the pandemic really set all of this up? Didn't it put some things in our mind and in our hearts? Didn't it provoke our imagination and our eyesight, our inner eye, to see ourselves in other positions in other, doing other things, following those things that are so near and dear to us. So let me just recap. First thing I want you to do on this recap, on this reinvention journey, is to test the strength of your why. Test the strength of your reinvention. Are you going into this thing as a casual hobbyist? Are you bringing your passion to in as a hobbyist, and that hobbyist is moving into becoming an entrepreneur? Ask yourself that. And then number two, how teachable are you? What you knew, you knew. Today is a brand new day. And whatever you're building, whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that you are successful, that the base is built soundly, that you're, if you're converting to be an entrepreneur, that you have a sound business structure. And this even goes if you are a podcaster turning into a business. You want your podcast to be built soundly, and you definitely want your business to have a sound business structure. That means you have to take the consultation from someone who's done what you're doing, who's doing it right now, who's been there, done that, and they continue to grow. You don't want somebody who's giving you information that's 50 years old, because all of that has changed. All of that. So do your homework, but invest in yourself. And if you're teachable, move forward. Let's get started, okay? Get started with a mentor, a coach. That's exactly what I did. And I keep one. Ever since 2017, I've kept a coach, a mentor. Get into a mastermind, but you have to have somebody who's helping you along this journey, because once you start this reinvention journey, it doesn't just stop. You are continuing to unfold the and peel back the layers of who you are, what you're doing, what you have to give. You're continuing to build up on what you've already produced. And then finally, excuse me, finally, I'm asking you, ask yourself, how high can you jump? How fast can you run? Because that's going to determine how fast you get started up and moving into this space of being an entrepreneur, this space of building out your podcast. Just a few tips that I want to share with you. All right. Leave comments. Be sure to let me know whether or not this brought some value to you. If I can be of service to you in any way, then be sure to reach out to me. That's it for me right now, Margo Lovett. If you want to catch the podcast, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation, you can definitely go over to my website, margolovett.com, and you'll find me on all of the major platforms, wherever you get the rest of your podcast. Over on audiobooks. Yeah, we are there on Audible Books. Yes, yes, yes. I tell you, to build out, to reinvent, and be consistent, it has its benefits. Benefits that I can't even begin to speak of. I not only podcast, but now I have the confidence to teach podcasting. Yes. I've been in magazines, and just this year in 2021, celebrated as Podcaster of the Year. Yes. Yes. I've had a chance to speak with Congressman Walter Tucker III, had conversations with, if you're from Utah and you've ever had a awesome, wonderful party, Mary Crafts. We've had conversations. God, my goodness, how can I forget Susan L. Taylor? You know her from Essence magazine, and the many causes that she backs up. The head of WOMEL. If you are a woman and you are in transition, you are changing, you opening up a small business, you've probably heard of the magazine WOM Lead. If you haven't, you should look it up. I have been a speaker at PodFest. Oh my goodness, that was so huge, so huge. If you don't know PodFest, it's where a bunch of podcasters get together. It is international, and there are people teaching and there are people sharing their stories, and you grow and you learn. I've had a chance to, I haven't spoken on afros and audio, but I was in the audience and learned so much. There's so many awesome things that are going on in the podcast industry until when I moved from hobbyist to turning this into a business. It opened up my eyes, it opened up my mind, it opened up the boundaries that I set up for myself. I no longer was all right with reverting back to being that little girl that thought she couldn't learn, that little girl that was intimidated by new things, that little girl who felt that it was just safer to move and stay in the background. But now I have a voice, and that voice is able to help other people find their voice. And that brings me joy. That is what I'm supposed to do. So, that's some of the fruit of reinventing. That's my story. What's yours? Get started today, all right? You can do it. How do I know? Because I did it. And I continue to do so. Let the saga begin and let it continue on. I'm Margo Lovett. I'll see you around. Bye bye.